With the announcement of Resident Evil 4 Remake being the cover game for the newest Game Informer magazine, we got a ton of information in regards to the game's mechanics, quality of life improvements, and new additions to the gameplay. The summary comes to us from Jawmucher on Twitter, who did a fantastic job of going through the Game Informer article and grabbing all the important and interesting information, so make sure to check them out on Twitter. So starting off with the first tidbit here, apparently Capcom did not want to do the remake initially. However, they decided that they were going to do it, but they didn't want to just start from scratch, but rather dial things up to 11. And based on what we're seeing in these videos and these screenshots, that's what they're doing. They took Resident Evil 4 and injected a little bit more of that T-virus and Las Plagas in there to make this game an 11, and it's going to be even crazier based on what we're seeing with these screenshots as well. Replayability and flexibility on how you play were key pillars in development, which is a huge thing for Resident Evil games. Replayability factor is the #1 thing that I think a lot of RE fans really think about and care about. You know, can I finish this game and immediately start up a new speed run and play the way that I want to play? That's really nice. Here's a big one, no QTEs. My old man arthritic hands are happy to read that. The older I get, the more I struggle with games that require you to constantly press buttons in a fast manner. A lot of times I will go to the accessibility options for games and just change it so that way I just hold the button down and I don't have to mash it like my life depended on it. So the no QTE thing is really nice, and that also means I can put the controller down during cutscenes while cool stuff is happening and not have a heart attack in case a QTE pops up and then I die. You can now carry multiple knives, and the game can be beaten with knives only. So before in the OG Resident Evil, you couldn't do a knives only run because some bosses were, situated in an arena where you just could not reach them. Some enemies were impervious to the knife. So now that you can actually play through the game with multiple different knives, it makes me wonder if they're going to have different knives in the game, or if it's just going to be one of those things where you have the standard knife that just stacks the more you find them. Or are we going to have certain knives where we have like an armor-piercing knife, or a knife that you can light on fire, or like an electric knife? The possibility there is really cool. The laser sight upgrade, which is something that a lot of people really wanted. They wanted the laser sight to stay intact in this game, and it looks like it is now an upgrade. So it's not gone, but you're going to have to upgrade your weapon to get it. Yellow herbs are also going to be in the game, which is cool. Doing a ground execution can prevent the Plagas from forming. So we did see this in some of the footage that they released previously, where Leon, basically took his knife and stuck it into a Ganado who was laying on the ground, preventing them from mutating. So that's pretty handy. It adds a little bit more strategy as well to your encounters in this game. Now here we get to some Ashley stuff. So in the original game, Ashley may have been a little bit difficult to command. She would often get captured or scream, and you'd have to place her into a dumpster. So it looks like they refined the Ashley AI here, and now R3, or your right stick, clicking that in, will be used to command Ashley. She can follow closely or fall back, but she will not stay in one place, which is nice. The amount of times we've all played the original Resident Evil 4 and we're trying to command Ashley to hide in a dumpster or follow you, only for her to just stand in one spot and get captured, or stand in front of your line of sight, was aggravating. So knowing she's going to constantly be on the move and probably be a lot smarter and actually assist Leon and actually get out of the way of enemies is really refreshing to hear. Speaking of dumpsters, there are no dumpsters for Ashley to hide in this time, so it looks like we gotta be a little bit more careful with how we treat Ashley, and we gotta really be on our best game possible to ensure that she's safe. Also this time around, Ashley does not have a health bar, but if she's damaged too much, she will need to be revived. However, she will die if she's in that revive state before you can reach her. So if an enemy runs up to her and stabs her when she needs to be revived, game over, you're gonna have to start over. They've added a new weapon, the Bolt Thrower, which is a crossbow, so that's pretty cool. It's always satisfying to use crossbows and bow and arrows in games, especially in games like Horizon, where you get that satisfying crunch noise when you land a headshot with your bow on a human enemy. I'm hoping there's something similar to that in this game, where we can really just feel the effects of the weapons we're using. There is a new enemy that wields a hammer and wears a bull mask, which we do see in these screenshots. They're almost kind of like the executioners from Resident Evil 5, but instead they're going to be carrying this huge ass mallet with that mask. So it's going to be interesting to see what their moveset is going to be. Are they going to be the stereotypical slow and stalker type that are just going to try and hit you with one hit and then you're dead? Or can they move a little faster? What kind of moveset are those guys going to have? Capcom is also teasing more new enemies, which is always a welcome addition. I'm hoping that in the castle area in particular, we get more than just the cult enemies. Adding some variety to that section, adding more variety to the island section as well can help things stay fresh. Because sometimes you run into like the island area and you had all the militia men and it just kind of got a little old after a while, or being in the castle with just the cultists. So hopefully adding those new enemies can help the game feel refreshing, especially on multiple playthroughs. Now this one is really cool. There are side quests in the game. They can be numerous things to do, such as fetch quests, puzzles, and more. So they're adding a little bit of a semi-open world / RPG element to this game. I can totally see like going to this area to receive a certain amount of treasure to then take back to, you know, the merchant who can upgrade your weapons or get you something cool. So that's going to be really interesting. Or maybe there will be optional bosses in these areas that will have rewards that are worth going and getting. So it'll be really cool to see what kind of fetch quests they have in this game and just how many there are. Attaché cases can now have perks such as increasing ammo drops. So now you have a reason to upgrade your attaché case for more than just space. So you're going to have these different cases that probably look different, but getting different perks is really cool. So one may give you more ammo, maybe another one increases your healing, or maybe one makes your reloads faster. It's going to be really cool to see what they do with this perk-like attaché case. The house section of Resident Evil 4 will allow you to barricade windows much like you did in Resident Evil 2, which I love. The amount of times I would run by and pick up a plank of wood and cover it on an open window because that open window was giving me anxiety in Resident Evil 2 because I was afraid a zombie was going to crawl through. That happened a lot. So in the barricade section, to know that you're really going to have to manage that house and not just kill people, but actively barricade these windows and maybe put planks of wood up, that's also going to add to the tension. And then the very last thing, the game blends horror and action very well. Jawmucher also goes on to say that Game Informer was incredibly impressed, or in their own words, hella impressed, and wanted to play more after their time was up. So it really sounds like Capcom hit the nail on the head here, and I am super excited. And the fact that the development team that was behind Resident Evil 2 Remake is making Resident Evil 4 Remake has me completely reassured. I was a little disappointed with Resident Evil 3 Remake. I didn't think it was a bad game, but it didn't really feel like it had that quality time and love and care put into it that something like Resident Evil 2 did. And the development team on Resident Evil 2 Remake was an absolute lightning in a bottle situation, because that team was filled with people who worked on the original Resident Evil 2, as well as developers who grew up playing Resident Evil 2 and all of the future games. So it was a really nice blend of old and new, and people who were fans first and foremost of these properties. So I cannot wait to get my hands on Resident Evil 4. Probably going to pre-order it. I think we all know the game's going to be fantastic, and seeing these new additions like the enemies and side quests and different attaché cases sounds really awesome. So that is pretty much the video. Again, thank you to Jawmucher for providing that detailed summary of all of the important stuff. Game Informer will also continue to release videos throughout the month, and if there's anything new in there, I will be sure to cover it. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you guys think of all of this new information we're getting for Resident Evil 4? What do you think of the screenshots and the new gameplay stuff? I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.